Welcome, folks.
Hi.
Today's episode is called Stop the Chop HODL. We want to thank all of our sponsors. Obviously, thank my producer Nick for always hanging in there and guest hosting today. But we want to thank our sponsors at Quantum Expeditions. If you're not aware, there's companies all over the world doing exactly what QX is doing. And that is taking methane flare and wasted energy and converting it into Bitcoin. This will continue to become the trend over the next decade, where all the major energy companies will be invested into Bitcoin mining. This is just a prediction we talked about 2 years ago, and this is becoming a more and more common theme. Greenpeace, sorry, you are wrong. Bitcoin is the green solution to your green economy that you've dreamed about for many, many moons. But if you don't have Bitcoin, guess what? It doesn't work. So this is a perfect example where they take methane flare from oil wells, right, where they can only take one or the other, right? So they take the oil. Well, guess what's left off? Methane. And it literally, they just set a match to it and it goes and that goes in our atmosphere, and that's bad for humans and animals. So they take it, they cap it, and they put a generator on it, and they hook up ASICs, and then we're making Bitcoin. So again, is everyone caught up? This is why Bitcoin is the most amazing asset ever invented in the history of the universe. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. We also want to thank our sponsors at Shieldfolio. Thank you so much for them. And there's a little QR code you can scan and get 20% off your Shieldfolio. Protect your seed phrases. And it's really amazing, right? Obviously, they have a special pen. You need a UV light to see your seed phrases, so people can't just open the book if they find it. Obviously, you should put that in your save or in your secret stash spot or whatever. Don't leave it out to begin with, but it has this extra security feature. It's also waterproof, and in the future, they are making one that will be fireproof. Amen. We also want to thank everyone at Deorganized Media and everyone at the Bitcoin Live family. Thank you for tuning in today. Amen. So let's get to it. Stop the chop, HODL. Like, what's that all about? Well, there's still people trading. The bears are still think they're in control. And
aren't we in a bear market now, Gerald?
I would say no, not at all. In Bitcoin terms, no. If we just do basic math, right? Bitcoin's all-time high is a 125. We're at like right around 100. It's down 25%. That's like an average day for Bitcoin, right? Like when people say it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's falling. I'm like, here, let's take a gander at the hash rate, which I just pulled up while I was in the QE spaces. I was just in on the dais talking about Bitcoin today. Oh, I forgot to click my share button. My bad. Give me one sec. There we go. There it is. So you can clearly see Bitcoin's humming at 1.45 zettahashes right now. The sky's not falling. And if we zoom out to like a 6-month chart, you can see it is forming this massive bull flag of energy, right? So how many more weeks, days, or months is it going to take for this to zigzag to a point and start to flatline and it go like this? I don't know. It could be a couple of weeks, could be a couple of months. We did see some movement, right, from Bitcoin on Sunday, but I pulled up the on CoinGlass the spot ETF net inflow outflow, and I'll pull that up right now, and you can see just in when's this? This is from October, and the last like 30 days. This is October 16th. Let's see, what was that? 530 million out of the Bitcoin ETFs outflow. And then let's just get into November, right? See all these red spikes here. This day was no, that was a green day. Go up here. There we go. Yeah, 488 million. This day was 470 million. These days weren't too bad, but still millions of dollars. We go up to this one again, negative $566 million. So we're getting into the billions of outflows. This day here was a great day. It looks like just on Veterans Day, we had a lot of people buying back in, but at the same time, we have tons of this outflows. We still have whales. We still don't have clarity on the Clarity Act. And I still don't think that the Fed has cut interest rates enough. I think it needs to be a whole basis point, right? You do a whole basis point, that shifts everything, right? That shifts money markets, that shifts MBSs, right? So that shifts mortgage-backed securities. People want to buy our debt again because it is a whole 1%. If you're spending millions and millions of dollars as a market maker, that 1% is huge in gains when you're talking about the bond markets and etc. So
don't you also think like because the Federal Reserve hasn't started quantitative easing yet, right? I think they'll stop quantitative tightening on December 1st. That is sort of their target. But
yeah, they've already been printing money. They just, I don't think you're correct. I don't think they've sent it out to the central banks yet. They're kind of sitting on this pile of cash. And what's funny is we talked about this a couple of shows ago, right? Like why Warren Buffett got downgraded, right? Is because he's sitting on a ton of cash. And even the credit agencies know that's not a smart move right now when gold's going like this and Bitcoin's $100,000+ a coin. It just doesn't make sense to be sitting on the worst asset that's in the field to invest in.
But yesterday, or I think the day before, I sent you the interview, the latest interview with Michael Howell, right? The sort of liquidity guru.
Yeah.
And and he sort of told the story, right, that you already see the repo market spiking, right? That there are sort of failed transactions going on and more frequent. And basically they put like, I think $20 billion into the repo market in order to stabilize it. And I think another 20 billion went there. But basically he's saying it has to be like 10 times that amount in order to really stabilize the situation. But the Federal Reserve and Team Trump both don't want to do quantitative easing because the Federal Reserve doesn't have the mandate, they say. And Team Trump doesn't want to do it officially because they don't want to eradicate Main Street because of a K-shaped recovery. So both groups are not willing to, increase the Fed's balance sheet, even though if they don't, and the repo keeps spiking, you risk like a flash crash or worse.
Yeah, well, the Fed's already said they're going to increase their balance sheet, and they have been. So that's going to continue to happen. The repo market's correct. They always alert the teams that run the Fed, right? There is the plunge protection team, and they're fully aware when these kind of things happen that their job is to come in and scoop up some bonds. And now that they've got the green light, we have that shielding on the markets that Bitcoin doesn't have. And that's what the main thing I want to point out to everyone that's invested just a couple $100 ever in their entire life. This is what makes Bitcoin far superior, right? There is no plunge protection team, right?
Yeah, that's super liquidity sensitive, right? It's the most
exactly. It's super liquidity sensitive, and at the same time, we just saw multiple billions of dollars being dumped in the ETF. We have multiple billions of dollars being dumped by solo whales here and there, and it's still around 100K. The sky's not falling, right? Be patient. This is literally Larry Fink trying to control the price of Bitcoin and tax harvesting, right? And no clarity in the Clarity Act yet. So All these centralized exchanges are going to keep doing their wash trading with all these coins and sucking liquidity out of these markets against us, right? So until they introduce that and say you can't stop doing that, well, those centralized exchanges like Binance and et cetera are going to keep doing it. And BlackRock's trying to tax harvest right now, and at the same time keep Bitcoin's price right around 100K because they want the asset to look desirable. They don't want it to be at 125K because that doesn't bring people to the table, right? They want people to go, oh my gosh, there's blood in the streets. Well, that's when real investors come to the table. They don't come to the table when Bitcoin's at 125 or 135K. That's when the smart money starts to walk away from the table and take some profits. If you are a trader. And that's the other thing is we talked about this in the last show is that the bears, there's still a whole mess of bears that think we're in this 4-year cycle, which we all know
there are bears right now who think we're in a bear market.
Yeah, and we're not. Like, you're crazy. 25%. Let me just break this down. 125 to 100, that's 25%. This is not a bear market. Bitcoin, I've seen Bitcoin go from 60K to 15K. I've seen Bitcoin go from 20K to 3K, right? That's a bear market. This is not a bear market. Literally, I've seen Bitcoin go from $20,000, right, to 3,000. That's literally like a 90% withdrawal, right? Like, that's pain. Going from 125 to 100, and you think we're entering this bear market. Clearly, you aren't good with numbers and math and don't understand that unless it's a 50% pullback, it's not a bear move for Bitcoin, right? Unless Bitcoin goes to 60K, don't talk to me about bear market days, right? This is like literally the big news of today. The Czech Republic is stacking sats. Yeah, pull it up. I'm sure you have it somewhere up there. You're smiling. There it is, right? So we've got exactly what I've been saying, and we've been talking about on this show for a long time. We have game theory playing out, right? The Czech central bank wants to buy billions of euros in Bitcoin. And why would they do that, right? Why would they do that? Because it defends the euro.
And it's cheap right now.
Yes, right? Your euro will go to zero if you don't have Bitcoin to protect it. That's why the dollar has been hedging so well, not because of oil anymore, right? It's because of Bitcoin. And all these stable coins that are built around the unit of the dollar, right? This has been protecting the dollar for 10 plus years, right? Czech National Bank purchased $1 million worth of Bitcoin. And again, they will continue to do this, right? And again, this defends the euro. Every time a bank in the EU decides to do this and they're going to buck the system, at some point, the EU is going to be like, I guess we're investing in Bitcoin. Yes. If you don't want to go into the dark ages, right? Because I posted a tweet. The EU, France, right? EU, Great Britain, and New York will go into the dark ages if they keep up this nonsense with all these anti-Bitcoin postures in their policies, because it only does harm to you and your citizens. It doesn't harm the Bitcoiners of the world, right? It doesn't harm people in El Salvador mining Bitcoin. It doesn't harm somebody. It doesn't harm Monty Greenspan mining Bitcoin in Texas, right? So again, these policies are antithetical to what Christine Lagarde is talking about, right? You have to see that she is the emperor that wears no clothes. She keeps saying Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. False. It's backed by megawatts of energy, gigawatts of energy, right? We just saw Bitcoin's hash rates 1.145 zettahashes of power. Christine Lagarde, are you paying attention? It's backed by that. That's what it's backed by.
Gerald, I want to do a shout out to Bitcoin Amsterdam, because
Oh,
today
yes.
and tomorrow is a Bitcoin conference. Actually, my brother and both my brothers went today. I wanted to go, but I had sort of like a health issue, so I couldn't attend. So hopefully I can attend tomorrow. But I heard they had a great time, and they're talking about European treasuries and all kinds of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So
The one thing you can count on is that the Dutch are smart. Our whole damn government is built around the Dutch, human rights and freedoms. So the Dutch have to come to terms that Bitcoin, like I've said this many times, is sent by God, right, to protect us from the debasement of fiat currency, right? It is a truly a incorruptible money. And who is the most incorruptible thing ever, right? Who can, and Bitcoin can go to infinity. Who's the only thing that can go to infinity? So again, you can keep denying it all you want, but the Dutch will realize this is truly freedom money, right? And
there
if you
are
want
some parties that know about it, but they
yeah,
are small,
but they're
small
not the people in
compared.
power yet, right? That's the bad part, right? But there are Dutch that get it, because I know I've seen the signs. I've been to Amsterdam. I haven't since Bitcoin's inception, which I should go back to Europe at some point. But I truly think with Bitcoin and the Lord, we're going to have this super revolution, and we're just in the birth pangs of that revolution right now. And that's why the markets are so murky, right? Like I said, the Clarity Act is forcing all these centralized exchanges to play these phony games, right? Like look at Zcash. I don't want to talk smack on Decred, but there's like all these coins like pumping like rando out of nowhere, right? And I get it, they're privacy coins and privacy matters. You should be focused on privacy, but out of those, I would pick Monero and Litecoin over everything else.
They're doing great too. I mean, especially Monero. I
Oh
like
yeah,
Coin.
Monero again has pumped pretty hard over the last 6 months or so, and will continue to pump. And the reason why we don't see it in Litecoin, and I think we're going to see, and I haven't brought this up, but the reason why we're going to see Bitcoin kind of sideways chop some more is because Square, that was the other big story, and I have that story pulled up right here, has launched their Bitcoin payments, right? So this is great news. Oh, didn't I click share this tab?
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Okay, my bad. So again, this is great news for the ecosystem, right? Now there's literally 4 million Square terminals that can receive Bitcoin payments. And I know there's people out there that they can take USD too. It's like, who cares? Stop complaining. Shut the F up. The fact that now people can buy coffee with Bitcoin, that's what everyone wanted from the beginning. That's what Satoshi dreamed of.
Gerald, that coffee is very expensive.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. All the drama with people. And guess what? Some of those people were obviously engagement farming, but guess what? It's a 50-50 split, because I had to have, you saw the one person was like, I really don't know what a Satoshi is. Explain it to me like I'm stupid. And I was like, okay, here you go. Satoshi is 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, or point, what is it? 0.000000001.
I think that whole discussion will also help a lot of people see the light that you don't need to buy a Bitcoin, right? That you can actually buy sats, right? I think many normies don't know that you can actually buy sats. That
you can buy micro portions of a Bitcoin, right? Let's point this out like 10 times, because we're in the fishbowl culture, right? You can buy micro portions of a Bitcoin. Micro portions, right? You don't have to buy $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. If you got it, do it. If you don't, $20. Like I got my friend started stacking sats. You know how it started? I had $8 in my Cash App of Bitcoin. I lightninged it to him, and it was like bling, and he was like, whoa. And that's the light bulb went off in his head, right? And then he was like, oh wait, I'm going to connect, because on the side he does a little door dashing, and he's like, oh, I'm going to connect my like they got a new card. He's like, I'm going to connect my virtual DoorDash card to this and start stacking. And literally started doing that right then and there. So retail is coming back, and they're starting to get why this is so important, right? And like I've stated for many, many moons, if you are going to use Bitcoin, go use it with these people and convince them to keep the Bitcoin, because he's charging 0% fees. Zero.
Yeah.
He's giving you free Bitcoin, literally, to all these merchants. Take advantage of it. Right?
And
so go ahead.
I got a clip for you. I saw it yesterday, and I had to think of you immediately, because you sort of said like, if you can buy a whole Bitcoin, go do it. Well, I got this clip for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead. And then I want to show that one.
That would be my second advice. And the other very specific advice, I told my daughter.
It's so soft. Can you turn on the if there is caption, closed caption?
Yeah, you have two assets. You got the hard asset, which is your house, and you get some coin.
All right, I'll do it like this.
Fiat. That's a great deal. I know many people love real estate, but real estate.
Yeah, it's basically Richard Salinas. I think he's like a Mexican billionaire, and he basically
he's super rich.
Yeah, and I think there's this event in El Salvador at the moment also. And he went on stage to say, take a mortgage on your house and buy Bitcoin. And I think you said at some point, like, sell your house and buy Bitcoin. Or I forgot who it was, but somebody.
Yeah, I wouldn't go into debt to buy Bitcoin. That's why I tell people, like, go sell. Everyone's got useless crap, right? Like I had an electric bike I had to get a couple years ago because my Jeep had an issue and I had to put it in the shop, but it was post pandemic, so everyone had their car in the shop. And literally the Jeep dealer was like, yeah, it's going to take might take 2 months. And I'm like, what? So I had to get an electric bike to ride to work for almost like a month and a half or so before I got my car back. So that's sitting down there. I've been trying to sell it for months, to sell it for Bitcoin or Litecoin, one of the two. And I haven't. Oh well. But yeah, everyone's got useless crap sitting around. They don't use, sell it, get rid of it, buy Bitcoin, buy Litecoin. And I know there's always going to be people that say, oh, Litecoin. No, trust me, it is the most used crypto. And that's another thing I was about to lead into. Don't be surprised if, there's a lot of these merchants that will take the Bitcoin and hodl the Bitcoin and eventually learn to put it in their own cold storage wallet. But a lot of these people are just going to convert it back to cash. So we're going to have a lot of churn from that. So just be aware that could lead to Bitcoin chopping a little bit longer than we want. But the good news is there's, look at this map, right? That this is the map of merchants that want to be on the map, and it's 50 pages deep. So Square's dev team is about to be mad busy, adding all of these people onto the Bitcoin map. I've already opened, I live in the middle of nowhere, Central Oregon, right? So I've already opened the map here, and there's 2 to 3 merchants that already accept Bitcoin. So this is a big deal. Pay attention, right? We're in the beginning phases of hyper Bitcoinization. Like I said, I think this is the pandemonium and the birth pangs of the Bitcoin revolution, right? Like, we're here. You have to be patient. We have countries like, we're stacking, we're mining, we're stacking, we're mining. Are you paying attention, y'all? Like, it's not going to 20K. Like Tate said, like, are you crazy, crack smoker? Until I see the hash rate take a fall off a cliff, I'm not. It's not happening. We might see the 90s again. That's very probable. We might even see top of the 80s, 88, 89. But I don't think we see 26K or 50K, 60K, or even 70K.
And also, right, we just mentioned that the Federal Reserve is about to start quantitative easing, and we stated that Bitcoin is liquidity sensitive. And people like Michael Howell and Luke Groman and Lynn Alden, they all point out that they have to print very shortly massive amounts of money, in order to keep the ship floating. So, 1 and 1 is 2, right? I mean, it might take a bit longer. Maybe it will be January next year or February or even March, but it is coming. And I think when it's coming, they have to print way more than during COVID, I imagine.
Yeah. Let's see.
And the longer they wait, the more they have to print, right? Because they're
Well, again, they've already said that they're going to print like 1.5 to like 3 trillion, and whatever they tell you. And I've been saying this since 2008.
Times 10.
Yeah. Well, no, it's times 3. It's roughly 3. And it might, that magnitude could increase. But it's usually roughly 3. So if they tell you 3, it's going to be 9. If they tell you 2, it's going to be 6. Right. And that's just how it is. I'm just telling you, like 2008, they're like, oh, we're going to print 3. And it was like close to 10. Right. Like, yeah, that's a little bit more. I'm just saying. And then, we have the banks, doing their silly games. Like they've been buying commercial properties and houses for everything. And they've been doing it for, what is that? Like almost like close to 20 years. Right. And this another having a negative impact on the markets, right? When the markets are like this, no one wants to buy homes. No one wants to, what's that do? Okay, well, it backs up everything in that chain, right? From the money lenders to the mortgage people to the contractors that get these huge, massive investments, Home Depot, Lowe's, trains that move all that stuff, right? Like it all starts to back up, and that's when the economy just starts to go, oh, no.
Yeah, and Michael Howe also pointed out that China and America are in a sort of a fight, right? Because China and the BRICS are trying to launch this gold-backed currency, so they're very much invested in the price of gold.
And please do. Please do. Please do, BRICS. It will be the best failure you'll ever see. And I know this because this is my specialty. I have studied token economics in this space since 2018, right? So I tell people this has been tried with the Bank of Perth, right? Reserve of Australia that tried this, right? These people have good devs, right? Just saying, not saying you have crap, but I'm just saying these people know what they're doing. They tried it. I think a couple countries in Africa tried this, right? Who else? Oh yeah, Venezuela tried this, right? With the petro, trying to do it with oil and gold. So again, you're not the first, and failure after failure after failure after failure. And I will explain this, and we talked about this on the last show. Why is this? There's multiple reasons. Third-party redemption is the big one, right? Who's going to give me my gold down the chain if this is not a real decentralized system? I don't know. Who's got it? I don't know. So it doesn't work. It really just physically doesn't work, because you'd have to have all these decentralized vaults holding gold that somebody could just walk up to and be like, show a QR code and boom, okay, we've got gold for you. Does that make sense to anybody? No. Secondly, transparency. All the gold people really don't want you to know how much gold there is, right? Like we keep hearing, oh my gosh, here's another huge vein, another huge deposit, another huge nugget. And does the price of gold go down at all? No, because there's not a true supply, like an actual inventory of all the gold in the world. There's just a guesstimate, right? And that's why gold's bull crap. Another reason I hate gold. Do you know how much fake gold is out there? Do you know how much tungsten gold is out there, where they literally just take tungsten bars, they wrap it in gold, and it feels like a gold bar, but guess what? It's not gold at all. You just got scammed. This cannot happen with Bitcoin and Litecoin, right? And you'll never get 16 karat Bitcoin, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
And this is also, sort of the banking system evolved from gold smiths, right? Because they sort of kept the gold for everybody and then started loaning out the money or the papers, and the paper certificates became the banknotes. But basically, what they found out was that they didn't even have the gold that they promised, that the certificates that they gave the gold holders. So basically, it's already, so the banking system, where it went wrong with the banking system, already went wrong with the goldsmiths like centuries ago.
Yes, exactly. There we go. We've got it. Proof again in the analog realm as well, right? From coin clipping to this example to et cetera, et cetera.
But what's
where they go ahead.
But and then of course also even China is sort of trying to fabricate gold through sort of these Large Hadron Colliders, right? That they're sort of stabilizing a gold element. I think.
Oh, dude! I found out gold grows on trees just the other day. Pull it. I'm serious. Put put that in your search engine. Put gold grows on pine trees, and see what comes up. And you're gonna be like, what? Yeah. So yeah, he does grow on trees. So yeah, gold people, gold grows on pine trees. This just in. I hate to break it to you, gold's everywhere. Surprise! Because what happens is it's in the earth, and the roots then eventually suck it up, and it comes out the needles. Wow, there is some crazy term. There it is. But gold does, according to a new study. Yeah. So again, mind blower. Gold does grow on trees, and again, I hope they don't start chopping down huge swaths of forest. Don't do that, because you're not going to get much. It's like little teeny dust particles of it. But the point being is, gold is everywhere. Bitcoin is scarce.
Yeah,
gold is only as scarce as they tell you it is. So and having a transparent network that tells you exactly how many gold bars there are and how many gold coins there are, it makes that system not work. Hello, is anyone paying attention? Like, it's like,
yeah, and I mean,
they tried it.
As soon as they can produce gold, then they're not going to tell you that they can produce it, right? So imagine that China is able to, conjure up gold. Alchemist style, then they're not going to tell everybody like, hey, we can actually produce it out of thin air, right? China's coffers will be infinite. But Michael Howell wanted to say is actually, because the BRICS are invested in a gold standard, or not really gold standard, but that they're leaning on gold, and America is leaning on Bitcoin. You have this battle going on between sort of the BRICS trying to undermine Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. That's why they're also into quantum computing and that kind of stuff. And America is trying to undermine the gold price, or at least stabilize it and keep it under control. So there's also this sort of tug of war going on between the price of gold and the price of Bitcoin, right? Because
again, I said gold topped out at 43. We pulled up the chart. We called it right on the head. You were with me on the show. The next day, what happened? Shoo! I think within 2 days, gold lost $1 trillion from its market. Bitcoin's never done that. This is what people should be paying attention to. That's a massive amount of money to leave your markets, right? I'm glad it's stabilized for you. I'm holding at 4K. That's awesome. But you have to be paying attention. $1 trillion left your market. That's like half of Bitcoin's market cap walked away, right? In a few days. So all those people, yes, you were exit liquidity. You bought ounces of gold or grams of gold at $300 more spot than you should be. And if you would have just waited 2 weeks, you could have got it for 15% discount, right? Like, that's pretty dang good. But this is how the markets work. The markets feed off your fear, right? FOMO is a killer, right? Do not FOMO into any green candle. This is my first lesson I teach anybody when I'm teaching investing, right? If you're going to be a green candle chaser, enjoy pain the rest of your life, right? I'm just saying, I've done it. All the smart investors have done this experiment. Okay, I'll green candle chase. Let's see what happens. And you get a little pump, and then your exit liquidity. You're literally exit liquidity. And everyone who's had that experience knows exactly what I'm talking about. You bought your little bag of this stock. You bought your little bag of this altcoin. You bought your little bag of even Bitcoin, and goes up a little, and that's because there are massive whales out there that have all these positions and all these stop losses and all these orders set, and they can move the markets around. We're just little fish. But the cool part about Bitcoin and Litecoin, when the boats rise, all boats rise, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When the tides come in, everyone wins. It's not a pyramid scheme, right? That's the between the pyramid scheme and these assets. When the tides come in, all tides rise. When the tides go away, all the boats go down, right? And that's just comes with the territory, right? You have to understand that this 25% dip in Bitcoin is nothing. This is a walk in the park for the OGs, right? I'm like, oh, it's still 100K. I literally considered just taking several hundred to $1,000, just buying more Bitcoin, but it looks like it might go down some more, right? And I have to look at it technically and be patient. Anytime you're about to like go buy any asset, look at the chart. And I know if you're not a chartist, we talked about Alessio Rastani. He's probably one of the smartest chartists in the world. I tell people, look, we're in total concurrent right there. Matty is a very good chartist. Since I've studied from both of those guys, I am a really good chartist. And when I post a chart up and I put a circle and I put it up or down, you should be paying attention. That's all I'm saying. And we did this with gold, and it looked like Bitcoin, right? We all were like, this looks like a Bitcoin chart. You better be running away from that party, not to that party. And that's what the market makers see. So they see that huge green candle, and what comes, all these shorts, right? All these gold people, the gold bears come up, right? And the gold bears place all these shorts, and then they move the price down. And then as soon as the price shifts just 1 or 2%, anybody longing gold, all the gold bulls, they get whacked, right? Yep. And that's when we start to see the volatility start to creep in. And that's where gold is. But I think we're still, even though gold isn't as truly scarce as everyone wants it to be, the market makers make it appear that way, right? And that's the huge difference between Bitcoin and diamonds, Bitcoin and oil, Bitcoin and gold. Bitcoin's supply is always going down. It will always go down,
right? I mean, it's all on the blockchain, so you can
it's all on the blockchain. And supercomputers, again, I don't know how many times I got to tell this to people, like some of the best quantum computers in the world, right? I'm a researcher. I research this stuff all day long, right? Literally. The best supercomputers in the world are like 6,000 qubits. We talked about this on the show. They decrypted what was it, like a 6-bit key or something? I don't know. It was a 2-bit or a 6-bit key. It was small. Yeah. Bitcoin's a 256-bit encrypted. Right? Let's be very clear. You'd have to have 100 million qubit processor to roll back the blockchain, okay? 100 million qubit processor. And then to boot, I just started learning about quantum processing, so I don't know a ton. I'm not an expert in the field by any means, even though I am a polymath. That's not one of my fields. But what I've learned is that anytime you're using a quantum processor, the atoms like break down and they have to be replaced. So think of 100 million qubit processor. You've got to have something that can recycle new atoms back into this chain, right? Into this chamber, into this system as they're being destroyed at like a super high level. Do you know how much energy that would take? Hello, are you paying attention? Right? You guys are way talking Star Trek crap, right? Do we have these
Gerald.
lithium crystals yet? No, we don't. So when we have, that's the biggest problem with the world right now is bandwidth and power. And we don't have enough of it to even roll back the dial. We don't have enough of it for the servers and the AI centers they want to build right now. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the counter argument, or at least what people would say is like, but you don't know what they don't show you, right? That there might be like even bigger quantum computers, or what I also hear is AI is getting smarter, like with the Moore's law. So every 2 years AI has a IQ jump of like a couple of 100 points. So it will just hack Bitcoin in like 2 years or 3 years or whatever, how many years, because it's like on a hockey stick. These are these are the arguments.
Again, until I hear they can decrypt a 256-bit key, I'm not worried.
So.
Right? And no one should be. Again, you know who you should be, what you should be worried about? Your effing bank account. That can be cracked with just a couple of AI tools. Hello? Right? Like, your PIN number is a 4-digit number. Do you know how easy that is to smash through with like a couple of hacking tools? Like 30 seconds, bro.
Yeah, no,
and we're not even talking about quantum computers. If you want to get quantum computers, all the banks in the world are done. Bitcoin and Litecoin remain, right? Like, let's be very clear. Are you paying attention? The banking system is done with supercomputers and quantum computers. They can be like, there's already Swiss cheese as it is, right? We talked about this on the show like 10 episodes ago. I think maybe 6, 7 episodes ago.
And on top
Eternal
of that,
Blue, right? Eternal Blue is this tool that was created by either the NSA, CIA, the Defense Department. Nobody's really sure, but it turns any Windows system into like God mode. You can do whatever you want. So nothing's safe unless it's Bitcoin or Litecoin. Sorry, go ahead.
And there's way more money to gain from hacking the banking system compared to hacking Bitcoin, right? Because if you want money, then you would go hack the banking system first before you hack Bitcoin.
Again, let's talk about that. Since you brought it up, and I kind of segued in there, let's talk about the Federal Reserve Bank that was hacked for $90 million.
Oh, there you go.
You're like, wow. Yeah. And guess what? It was like, not like, it was a low end hack, right?
Social engineering.
Yeah, it was done through social engineering. Someone left a password somewhere, and that's how they got to the Swift computer. And if I remember correctly, I
pulled up your share screen, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at, of course. No.
Can I, in the meantime, play a clip from Michael Howell?
Yeah, definitely.
Because, we're sort of, you already mentioned the Clarity Act, right? So because most of these laws and regulations, as you always say, like it takes time for them to implement them also, right? It usually takes a year after they are ratified in order for them to also implement it. So that will be next year. And of course, the stable coins. But apart from that, you also have the system that is going bankrupt and they have to print large amounts of money.
Moving at least sideways for the time being, if not totally.
Well, I think let's get the perspective. I think over the next 12 months, I think I would at best see a range-bound equity market. And we know that, equity markets tend not to stand still. So there's clearly downside risks, particularly if policymakers make mistakes. So that, I think, is clear. In the longer term, because equities are a liquidity-sensitive asset too, and I'm suggesting we need lots of liquidity because we've got lots of debt, whether we like it or not, and that debt is growing exponentially, we're going to be in a world where there's a lot more liquidity, and therefore equity prices will go up. Bonds will be, will lose their value. I'm not keen on bond markets, apart from a very short-term defensive move. But I think bonds in the long term are not. And, maybe this is the wrong analogy, but it's an analogy that is extremely apt, is look at what happened in Germany after World War I with hyperinflation. You had a situation there where if you were a bondholder, you lost almost all your wealth, and that tended to be the middle classes, and particularly the older generations. They lost most of their wealth. And who gained from that period, because it was clearly an income redistribution, it tended to be the younger generations who, despite the fact their peers and their parents said, or rather their parents and grandparents said, don't invest in equities, these are crazy investments, okay, go for the safety of German government bonds because they've always paid out. That was such a bad investment recommendation, but it draws a parallel with what's happening now. And people are saying, don't invest in Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies because these are crazy investments. Nonetheless, they've done extremely well, and they seem to be inflation-proof. And that's the parallel I would draw. Now, I'd stop there because there are a lot of unfortunate analogies if you start to extrapolate that German experience. But
yeah, you want me to extrapolate from that? Yeah. Well, what does it mean? Bitcoin's going to infinity.
And if you want to read a good book, When Money Dies.
Yeah.
when money does, it's really good to do.
But again, this is where we're at, right? Like Bitcoin is at some point, you can't hold that beach ball under the ocean for much longer, right? I don't know if it's a couple of months, but it's being suppressed. Again, all signs point to just be patient. But I did find that article. It was a Bangladesh bank, and here it is. Also known as the Bangladesh Bank. Cyber heist was a theft that took place in February 26. 35 fraudulent instructions were sent by security hackers via the SWIFT network. And like I said, it was because they had the password, right? Let's see, SWIFT network to illegally transfer close to $1 billion from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York account belonging to the Bangladesh Bank, the Central Bank of Bangladesh. 5 of 35 fraudulent instructions were successfully transferred, transferring 101 million, with 81 million traced to the Philippines and 20 million to Sri Lanka. So again, you're worried about quantum computers and Bitcoin. You should be worried about quantum computers and the Federal Reserve SWIFT system. It's toast with the supercomputers they have right now. It's toast. Are you listening? Yeah. So if hackers get a hold of any of the supercomputer networks that are available to them, like Torino is one of the biggest ones. And if somebody just got into that, they could shut down your economy. And you're worried about Bitcoin? Hello. Don't be worried about Bitcoin. Satoshi thought this out. It was sent from God, right? Like, do I need to point out that another reason I think this is because I was watching a documentary on Leonardo da Vinci, had nothing to do with Bitcoin at all.
Invisible money.
Yeah. And it says, those will, I think it is, invisible coins will make wealthy to those that spend them, or something like that. And it's like, what? I'm sorry, what? And I've shared it many, many, many times on Twitter. I'll continue to share it. It's saved in my favorite photos for a reason. How would he know about Bitcoin 490 years ago?
But then somebody
how
would
many
say,
years ago he said that.
people would say he was talking about something else.
Yeah, invisible coins. That's pretty specific. There's only one thing in the world that's an invisible coin, and it's Bitcoin. Obviously, all the other cryptos are technically invisible tokens. They're not coins, right? We've never discussed that on the show. Let's break that down for any newbies, because there's a lot of new people coming, right? What's the difference between tokens and coins? A coin is something that's built on a proof of work network, right? It's mined, and then when you receive either a PPS or you win the block reward, that is a coin. Okay. If it is built network like Ethereum, anything built on an Ethereum is an ERC20. That is a token, and that is not a coin. Ethereum used to be a coin when it was a mined coin, and now it is a proof of stake network. So Ethereum is now a token. See, it's downgraded itself, and it didn't even realize that, right? Like, nobody pointed that out, right? You went from a POW system, which, yes, is more energy intensive, but connects you to real world energy. Now that you're a proof of stake, you've downgraded your coin to a token. Sorry, these are the rules. I don't make the rules.
I wanted also, I think I highlighted it in one of those spaces, but when you sort of compare Bitcoin to gold, like sort of gold has a dual case, right? You have gold as a monetary asset, and you have gold as an industrial asset, or whatever you want to call it. So it has a dual function, right? But it can only be one or the other. It cannot be both at the same time. But Bitcoin can be both a monetary asset and an energy asset at the same time. So it creates demand for itself. Gold cannot create demand for itself, right? It has to be either or. And Bitcoin can be and at the same time. So
could be
Bitcoin will generate its own demand, right?
Yeah.
You already see countries waking up that they want to mine it and have the monetary asset at the same time. It's like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah. And again, like Paraguay, look at Paraguay is already 4% of the hash rate. They will continue to grow. Like I said, in probably like less than 2 years, we'll see them become 10% of the global hash rate.
So it decentralizes itself.
Yeah, there's so much hydroelectric power in South America because of the mighty Amazon and its tributaries that there is tons of hydropower that certain time, the rainy seasons, right? They have rainy seasons too. In the rainy seasons, they have excess tons of juice, right? They got their turbines going nuts and they're like, well, what are we doing? And we're just churning nothing, right? They're literally just burning through money, just like when a solar farm, it's a sunny day and it's like April 25th, right? Nobody needs AC, nobody has heat on, and they're just creating tons of energy and no demand. Well, guess what? You hook up them ASICs, boom, you can mine Litecoin, boom, you can mine Bitcoin, and you're not wasting that energy anymore. You're capturing that energy and you're storing it in an electronic version of the hardest asset ever created, and then the second hardest asset ever created, which is Litecoin. Everyone used to think it was Ethereum, but too many things can happen to Ethereum. I'm sorry. I've just personally experienced them, and once you've experienced so many of those issues, it's like, I'm done. Sorry, Vitalik. I'm no longer a Vitalik fanboy. I apologize.
And also, if you're like a home user and you have solar panels and the sun disappears, you can actually also then mine Bitcoin with it, so that the battery, that you don't ruin your equipment. Sort of, it can keep sort of constant going, right?
Oh, again, it makes it a grid balancing.
Yeah.
It's the most grid balancing, amazing tool ever built, right? We've seen this multiple times in Texas. We're seeing this in Japan with TEPCO. We're going to see every energy company in the world go, we're throwing away hundreds of millions of dollars. Correct. You're just throwing away hundreds of millions of dollars. Why would you do that? I've been saying this for almost 2 years now. If you're starting a business and you're not calculating how you can invest an extra 10 to 20K in a couple of ASICs, right? You're going to have that business on. If the business is using X amount of energy, then you should be setting some of that energy aside for those ASICs, because then you always have an extra revenue stream coming in. And on those rainy days, when the bills are hitting the fan, you can go, oh my gosh, we got some Litecoin. Oh my gosh, we got some Bitcoin. And you're not going to struggle as hard. This is the biggest thing I'm trying to convince to the Zoomers and the millennials, right? This is why Bitcoin's so important. You're struggling, stop saving in paper crappy money. Yep. It's hurting your whole lifestyle.
And I think, there's, I mean, you mentioned so many already, but it cleans up the planet, right? It makes the planet cleaner. It makes clean energy profitable for the first time. It makes government smaller. But it will also unlock a lot of new energy sources, right? Because you can basically go to places that have been impassable or inhospitable. You can just put some Bitcoin miners there, and suddenly those places that have been, economically unviable suddenly becomes viable because of Bitcoin mining. So it unlocks a lot of new energy resources, and plus it stimulates people to become more inventive in order to generate new energy. So it will basically drop energy prices and create new energy sources and make them viable.
Yeah, and this is another reason why Bitcoin is superior to AI, right? AI is always going to be the real boon on energy price action, and Bitcoin can stabilize that, right? But I think we have to realize that Bitcoin is way more valuable as an asset and as a tool, and as the many applications we've already discovered and all the new applications we're going to see, right? Like, just look, we've been talking about mesh nets on the show. Hurricane hit, one of the worst events in like 40 to 60 years in their country. What's the only thing that saved them from going into sheer pandemonium? Oh, BitChat. thank you, Jack Dorsey, for saving Jamaica. No one's pointing this out, but Jack Dorsey and his team of devs saved Jamaica because that was the only thing people could download. And then they didn't need the internet, right? They turned on their Bluetooth. And then as long as other people nearby have a Bluetooth, they become a node in the network, right? That's how that works. They become a node in the network. And then as long as there's a chain, you can talk to that whole chain of people, right?
Yep.
And there's so many devices now that this is possible, right? We just saw it work in Jamaica, and literally BitChat probably saved Jamaica from going into like pure chaos because they had no communication systems. They had no way to talk, no way to communicate. And guess what? Their Bluetooth, BitChat saved the day. I just want to point out another quick point of why paper money is inferior, right? Like, let's be very clear.
We're going to do a science experiment.
Yeah, it's not that complicated.
Cool.
But we'll see. Everyone, right? Like, here's my phone. Yeah, it doesn't work. Not compatible.
That's
not compatible at all. I'm having some issues depositing this into my phone. And the same thing with gold coins. They don't jump into my phone either. But guess what? Bitcoin has no problems living in this universe. And that's what you have to understand as a boomer. Yes, you can touch this. You can't touch Bitcoin. Get over that. Get over that tactile nonsense. It's going to wreck you. Literally. This is not a joke anymore. I've been saying this since 2019 that if you don't know how to do a Bitcoin and Lightning transaction within 10 years, you're going to be that person like, can you show me how to send a text? I don't know how to attach a picture to my text. Yeah, do you want to be that person? Because that's what's going to happen. And guess what? I've been doing technology customer service for years. There are still people that don't know how to attach a picture to a text. I know this because I've worked for Just Answer, right? They're like an online customer service, right? How many people? I'm like, can you just send me a picture of that? And they're like, okay, well, it's going to be kind of hard to diagnose the issue then, right? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, paper money, one of the worst features of paper money is that when you spend it, right, it fractionalizes this, right? As soon as I go hand this to anybody, they give me back change, right? There's going to be some bills in there, but then there's going to be Federal Reserve shit coins in there. Pardon my French. But it breaks your money down and breaks your money down and breaks your money down. Bitcoin doesn't do that. Litecoin doesn't do that, right? When you pay in Bitcoin, you pay in Litecoin, you're paying exactly to the decimal point. Not one Satoshi more, not one Litoshi less, right? You're paying exactly what it is. And it doesn't fractionalize your money into these bogus pieces of nothingness, right?
But then,
that's
Gerald,
another thing that makes it superior at storing wealth. Go ahead, sorry.
Gerald, the counter argument would be people pointing to the aurora borealis that was seen. What if you got like a gigantic solar storm and it fries all the satellites and all the devices on or your mobile in your hand and your computer at home? And
well,
so what would you say to those people?
Literally, so this is why Bitcoin is the most superior asset, and it even is superior to Litecoin in this aspect. If this happened, there are ways. If you have a generator and you have if you have a generator that can charge your phone, and you have a repeater and a ham radio, you can do transactions through ham radio operations, right? The Bitcoin can be used in literally no grid scenarios, right? No other money in the whole universe besides actual gold coins and silver coins can do this, right? When everything goes down, people can still use Bitcoin. Yes, it doesn't get a little tricky. Yes, it does. But it can still be done with ham radios and repeaters, right? I've seen it done multiple times. Is it can it be a pain in the butt? Yes. But now they have, there's a couple companies very similar to what we were just talking about. This is where Hashnet and antenna system, right? So again, BitChat already has fixed that solution, right? I already have BitChat. There's not many people around me that have BitChat, unfortunately. But if the grid goes down and you have BitChat, they have BitChat, I can send you Bitcoin peer-to-peer through the Bluetooth network, right? Hello. Like, this makes it superior. And Litecoin, hey, Litecoin people, I would love to help you build a lit chat, because again, these kinds of networks need to be implemented, right? And yes, I discussed this yesterday. I'm one of the few analysts in the world that everything. But the reason why we're seeing these geomagnetic storms deeper and deeper into the United States is because the magnetic poles hit about 11 degrees during the Fukushima earthquake. That's why there's certain parts of the world people are like, why does the sun seem so damn? That's because you're now 11 degrees closer to the equator, and this is world we can see the aurora borealis in like the middle of Missouri. Time in Pennsylvania when I was in high school, I think I was like 14 or 15 years old, and I was like, that's impossible. And then on the news that night, they were like, if I happened to be outside, there was a rare occurrence where it ripped off the atmosphere and you could see the aurora borealis. And I was like, bang. So I have seen it myself a couple of times. It is most impressive and amazing. But yeah, I'm not too worried because building the products that I am talking about to help us protect us from things like this, right? As long as
sneeze. I sneezed you away. Are you still there, Gerald? I think your connection is falling apart.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, it was. I think I'm. We'll try and wrap it up. But yeah, so again, I wouldn't worry too much about these kinds. We're building Bluetooth MeshNet products, right? And as long as we're building these products, they help us survive events that I've been talking about, right? And thank the Lord, Jack Dorsey and team did build BitChat just in time, right? Like it saved, where was it? Nepal, right? They used it in Nepal. I think they used it in Madagascar too, when they were having their little mini revolution. So
Gen X revolution.
Yeah, it's already helped several times where it's either been a national, like an actual, emergency due to a weather event, or it's been a national emergency due to unrest. Things go down, right? I shared that article the other day where in this region of Russia, they're like, yeah, we're just shutting off the internet. Sorry. Like, what? Like, this is why the Bluetooth and mesh nets are so vital. And as long as we have BitChat and more products that come online that are similar to BitChat, we'll be fine, right? Because we can do these transactions peer-to-peer. As long as our devices are charged, we can do these P2P, no problem. You have some eggs? Well, here's some sats. Boop, 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 boop. Done. And that's, people don't get how powerful a tool BitChat has become in just, not even 6 months. It's just been built like 2 or 3 months ago. It's helped in multiple revolutions and saved a pretty much a country from falling into pure pandemonium because it knocked out, I don't know if you've seen maps, but it knocked out whole towns on that one side of Jamaica, right? They're gone. They're like parts of California from the wildfires. They're just, everything's leveled. So again, I pray for Jamaica. I have been weeks. But yeah, like, again, these tools like BitChat, they saved the day. And that was just one application, and it's built on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin technically saved the day, because if Dorsey doesn't get the orange bug and he doesn't quit Twitter and sell it to Elon and literally start building the miners, the wallets, BitChat and Square and everything else. Oh yeah, there it is. Thank you, sir. But yeah, they literally like, oh yeah, we're just going to shut off the whole mobile internet. Sorry, click. And it's like, what? But yeah, that's from an article, I think it was like 10 days ago I shared, where
Moscow Times.
The most common instance of internet blackouts is government shutdowns. It's not due to national emergencies, unfortunately, even though that's like, it's like a 20-80 split or 80-20 split. It's 80% of the time it's the government. We're shutting it down. Like, oh, great. That's not good news. That's why we need these decentralized systems. We need decentralized communication systems. We need decentralized payment systems. We need decentralized data storage systems, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, they become slow and cumbersome, but they protect us from all of the, you know, evils of the Web 2.0, and the pitfalls that come with centralization, right? From honeypots to cybersecurity, right? We've discussed all of these issues before, where these databases are very vulnerable, right? Like hackers get to these databases and get your information, right? Just happened the other day, another 10 million people, I think like a week or so ago, from another, oh, sorry, your info's gone. My bad. And they get slaps on the wrist, right? Nothing really happens to these major companies that have paid hundreds of millions of dollars to these cybersecurity firms to stop this from happening. And what happens? Oh, you're okay. Don't do it again. I'm not cool.
Isn't this also sort of the thesis from Jason Lowery's Soft War book, right? That the countries that are not invested in Bitcoin and proof of work are sort of very vulnerable in this new geopolitical world, because you have to encrypt critical data.
As you're starting to, you know, the energy companies, that's like the first foray, right, into this. As these energy companies do this, well, they're not only protecting their assets because they're not wasting that spent energy anymore, whether it's methane, wind, solar, whatever. They're not wasting it. It's getting generated into revenue. That's the first layer where they're going to start to realize it's like, oh, wow. And as these players figure it out, it's like, well, if we're not investing into this, and by the way, it starts to protect your energy, right? Because like I said, it's instant grid balancing. So if you are having issues, those miners, especially the big ones, can go offline. They're offline in 5 minutes, right? This is a fact. We know this time and time again. But as all of these players figure this out, this is just the beginning. And now we're getting into the geopolitical game theory, right? Where Czech Republic, we bought $1 million worth of Bitcoin because they understand the countries that don't get involved into Bitcoin, you will be extinct. Your economy will collapse against the power of Bitcoin, and you will have nothing to do except adopt Bitcoin. So those are your choices.
At a higher price.
How to adopt it like America is doing, where it protects your other assets, or you can just adopt it like El Salvador and put it on the balance sheet as money. But we all know it's money. It just happened again here in America this week, right? It is money. It is superior to this. I'm sorry. This works. But guess what? So does Bitcoin in 4 million vendors across America now.
And Jason Lowery has this really nice term. He calls Bitcoin, or at least, you know, sort of the proof of work systems, a national defense industry. Part of the national defense.
Is. Again, as more and more countries figure this out, well, where are you going to start cutting from? You're going to be cutting from the biggest budget. And that, for us, we spend 10x more than China. Right? China is number 2, and we spend like 10 times more than they do, right? Like it's insane how much money we spend on defense, and it needs to be managed better. Elon's not the first person to say this. My dad was a defense contractor. I worked for him. And the years we were open, like we made these kits for Abrams, A1 Abrams tanks, right? These repair kits. And they had stuff in there that, you know, like even to this day, like, okay, there's this one gas panel and it's probably like, which is thick. It's aluminum, armor plated aluminum.
Wow.
Back then. But those kind of things, like when the government pays for it, and there was like valves, like we get these like high-end like valves that were like airline grade aluminum, like blue and red. And like these things cost us, you know, maybe let's say $10 to $20 a unit. Government would pay $700 a unit, right? And this has been going on since the 90s, y'all. So Elon's right? I've been saying it way before Elon again, right? I've called Dogecoin way before Elon. I've been talking about defense contracting way before Elon, but he knows way more about it now because he's been in the space, right? He has been a defense contractor now. He knows that there's so much waste, right? We've seen the videos of the generals, you know, paying $800 for a hammer that you can get at Lowe's for like $20, right? This is not like some big conspiracy theory. This is just the military is not good at managing some of their budgets.
But that's also, I mean, this is also the curse if you're like the reserve currency of the world, right? Because you can spend money like it's, you know, nothing. I mean, like my
yeah, but you shouldn't, even though it was the 80s and 90s and they were. Yeah. But you shouldn't. Like that's the whole thing of like if you want Keynesian economics to really work, right? The whole part of Keynesian economics, I've explained this several times on the show, is that yeah, you print more and you spend more and invest some, but when you stack some aside and you pay off your debt. Well, guess what? We never do that part. No, we never ever do that part.
You know, and what Michael Howell also says, like, you know, if you can print the money and if you can control the interest rates and you lower them to, you know, basically he says, you know, lowering interest rates to zero, or, you know, the NERP that we had, it hasn't occurred in 4,000 years of history. There's no recorded, there's no time in human history that we dropped interest rates to zero. So, but if you drop interest rates to zero and you print a lot of money, you know, people are going to spend money on stupid stuff and invest in stupid stuff, right? That's how human nature is. So, and that's what America and Europe and other Western countries did, right? And the BRICS had to, you know, pull the belt tight in order to survive and take the pain early. And now we're taking the pain.
And don't get me wrong, like what BRICS is trying to do isn't as shady as everyone wants to think it is, right? They're trying to protect their money.
If there was no Bitcoin, it was smart.
Yeah, if there's no Bitcoin, they should have been doing this years ago. But they're trying to protect their assets, their money, and their countries from the U.S. interest, where, you know, we go in and China goes in. Like, I don't know why China is a part of BRICS, because China's notorious for doing this too. They've snuck their way into the BRICS, and they do the same things the United States is, and they're even more brutal with it, right? They'll go in Kenya, and this is me just being hypothetical, but they'll go into Kenya and be like, oh, we'll build you this new soccer stadium, like $200 million soccer stadium. Sure. And then like 6 months later, here comes, you know, President Z or his reps or whoever. And they're like, yeah, we want all your timber rights and your gold rights. And they're like, no. And they're like, we just built you that stadium. And then like a day later, 40,000 troops land. And they're like, sure, yes, you can have the timber. It's like,
you know,
no, that wasn't strong arming a country into giving up. And guess what? That was a hypothetical, but they've done that time and time again. Go look at the map of Africa and just look. I tell people, look at Darfur. I think they have close to 2,000 military in in Sudan and South Sudan now, right? What? Yep. Yeah, there's 250,000 Chinese military in it's two countries now, Sudan and South Sudan. If I'm not mistaken, check my geography. But yeah, it might be less, but because I would say it was 2012 or something like that. But yeah, that's the whole reason you never talked about Darfur at all, is because China, one of their biggest oil wells in the world, runs right through that country. That's facts. So if you just always start to peel the veneer back behind any event, it either comes back to oil or money. And it's usually oil these days, because that still runs 80% of the world. And Bitcoin fixes that too, right? Like, if Bitcoin makes the green economy work, Bitcoin's always going to be chasing the cheapest energy source. And that's what forces people into thinking what we were just talking about. Well, everyone's just going to spend money because they don't have to think about it. Well, Bitcoin forces you to think about your money and your scenario ratios, whether you're a miner or you're just a hodler. You start to look at your finances and pay your bills on time and set, some aside so you can buy when those dips come. And if you're a miner, you're trying to figure out that energy to cost ratio and what's the cheapest energy source I can get to generate those cheap sats, and wasted energy is the cheapest, right? If it's completely wasted energy, well, yeah, you got to pay some overhead to get the methane generator and ASICs. But once you put the equation together, again, Bitcoin can be bootstrapped into the middle of nowhere, Texas oil field, which there's nothing else around, by the way. And boom, it's done in like 10 days if you have all the equipment and a good team, right? Boom. AI data center can't be built like that, right? You can't just go roll up in the middle of the Amazonian and like, hey, we're going to put a couple of river turbines in here and we're just going to hook like 2 ASICs for this village of like 100 people. You can't do that with AI, right? You can do that with Bitcoin, right? That's what Quantum Expeditions is doing. That is what many energy companies across the world are figuring out, right? Oh, that energy project we couldn't build in the Congo. Well, now we can do it because we'll take like $50,000 and we'll buy 2 ASICs and we'll buy a couple of turbines for the river that runs through the town, like I just said before, and boom, we're generating energy that people never had before. Right now they can read at night. I know there's people that don't get that people don't have lights, but there's still people that don't have lights in their house to read at night.
That was the story that I wanted to mention from Daniel Batten and Ethiopia, right? With those dams that they had, and basically the profits that they're now generating by hooking up some Bitcoin miners is that they can expand the energy grid throughout Ethiopia, and people who had never had energy before suddenly have energy, and they can start competing with us on a level playing field, right? Because these people are rising.
And then it creates jobs, right? Yeah, so now there's people that are like working at those Bitcoin mining farms. They're getting paid, and some of it in Bitcoin, and now they're not struggling, right? That's how powerful it is, right? Like my favorite example is the guy in El Salvador, right? And we'll wrap up with this story. So Bitcoin gets made legal tender, I think, was it 2021, officially June, somewhere around there, I think it was. Let's just go with that. I don't have to be 100% accurate, but you're going to look it up. I love you. So Bitcoin becomes legal tender in El Salvador. This guy used to have to take a day off from work, get on the bus, pay for the bus fare, ride into San Salvador, right, to the big city, go pay his wait in line for like 2 to 3 hours to go pay his phone bill, right? And then he would have to pay another fare, get on the bus. So he spent a whole day off just to go pay his phone bill. Now he goes, bing, bing, right on his phone using the Lightning Network. And guess what? He now has an extra day of pay. That's 4 extra days of pay a month. So now he's got...
Yeah. And he's more productive, right? He's way more productive.
So again, it's showing you how much friction it takes out of the system, and it puts that money back into the consumer's hands, right? Now that guy isn't wasting a whole day. It's doing nothing. Like he's doing nothing all day. Just go pay his phone bill. He can do it from his phone. And now what? Oh, he can make more money, and he's more productive, and he's wasting less, and he's a Bitcoiner, and he knows a lot more than most of the people on the planet. But go ahead, sorry.
By the way, it was September 2021. Yeah, you're right. And that kind of reminds me this story about Weimar Republic in Germany. That at the worst moment in sort of the hyperinflation, you had like people, mostly women, who had families, who had to wait in line a whole day in order to get a loaf of bread for their children who were waiting at home without their mom. And then at the end of the day, because then the prices would have skyrocketed again, she would come home without a loaf of bread. Right? That's where we are headed. You're wasting an entire day not feeding your family, not being with your family, doing non-productive, idiotic, insane stuff.
Yeah, like literally, he could have been spending time with his family, and now he has 4 days extra that he can either work or he can relax, right? And that's a huge difference. Like Bitcoin gives you some time back. It's that powerful of a tool. It literally it distorts like, and I've said this time and time again.
It monetizes time, right? It monetizes
it's like a graviton,
time.
right? Yeah, it's like a graviton, man. It's literally like a white dwarf. It is, and people say like, you know, it's like a black hole, but I'm like, no, it's more like a white dwarf that has like a massive gravitational pull. But it's very similar to a black hole. But then I took a step back and was like, no, Bitcoin's gravity itself, right? Which is even more powerful, right? It is G. It is not a black hole. It is, there's big, you know, capital G in physics, if you know physics. And that's a huge deal. And everything is now starting to gradually be pulled toward it, right? We've seen it with housing. It's literally the price of a house in Bitcoin is going like this, right? And we did it with diamonds a couple of episodes ago, right? That guy was like, here, I'll take that back. Well, it was a Bitcoin. Now it's 0.00 what is it, 0.001 Bitcoin or something like that. It's like, what? So again, Bitcoin is slowly pulling this crazy inflation game that's gotten away, like the scene in Up where the house is taken off, and Bitcoin is that gravity that's pulling everything back down to earth. And it's going to take some time. And right now we're in that, like I said, the death pangs of the fiat world, and we're transferring into the cryptoverse. And it's, I told a lot of people that this day was coming, and it's going to be very confusing.
And there's a lot of chop, right? As you say in the title. So just hodl.
Yeah, just hodl. That's the best thing you could do. Just hodl and sit on it. And if you are going to spend Bitcoin, yeah, go to one of these vendors that Square has opened up. Show them how to do it. They're supposedly going to be doing a bounty system. I hit Miles up a couple of times with my tweets. I was like, please put up a QR code with a referral code, right? Like, hello, that protects all parties, right? You don't want people scamming you for $25 with a Bitcoin using AI photos with like around, fake merchants, like, but once they start rolling this program out, yes, go spend some of your sats. If you do have a Lightning wallet, go spend them at a local vendor. I even considered that there's only 3 places in my town. I was like, 2 of them, like one's a parkour gym and the other is like something else. And one was a jewelry store. And I was like, I don't really need any jewelry, but I was like, maybe I'll get a nice silver cross or something like that. Maybe. But it made me think, right? It made me think, right? And that's what people don't get, is that all these Bitcoiners around the globe, we went from just 15 years ago to no one being able to use this stuff to now you can go into many places in America and purchase something. And again, you're helping that person figure out the most important asset ever created in human history. And once this referral bounty thing happens, you're talking like, I think I calculated roughly $100 million bounty if they really are going to say $25 worth of Bitcoin for every merchant you help, right? Like, whoa, that's a big bounty on the table. I hope it's true. We'll see. Miles was talking a lot out of the side of his butt, because they're like, yeah, this is live. I was like, the map's not live yet. Now it's live. You go into Cash app, it's live. But it was live for his like dev team, right? but yeah, really, just being really honest with the Cash App and the Square team. Yes, please protect yourself from scammers. Don't just let it be an honor system. Like, yeah, just tag me on X. Yeah, trust me, bro. People are gonna fake the funk. It's crypto, right?
So, Gerald, we should end with the market, right? Because everybody's in a panic. So, you're a chartist. You already said this is like probably a dip. So, how do you see this work out? Because we're below 100K, right?
Yeah, I think let's pull up a chart. I don't think I have one up at the moment, but let's pull one up. BTC.
I think it's at 98 or something.
Well, like I was saying in the show, we're right around 100. Do we go below 100? Don't be surprised.
Will it be a short wick and then boom?
Well, let's take a look. I'm pulling up TradingView right now, and I want to look, in multiple time frames because see if we're looking. Oh gosh, dude, them with their ads. Here we go. So this is just the daily chart. The daily chart looks horrible, right? Look at it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It's going down into the right. Let's look at a weekly chart. Yeah, weekly chart looks worse. Monthly chart, not too good. 6-month chart, not too good. Year to date, not too shabby. 1 year.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it didn't move. It says 11%. It was like 5%. Oh, okay. It really doesn't look like it moved, did it?
No, not really. No.
But these are the charts you got to look at. See, 5-year chart. Does it look bearish? Not really. All-time chart. No, does not look bearish. But this, could we be trying to print another bull pennant? It could be. But again, look at like I said, like here we are back on 2021. You see this? I have the only thing I see on this chart that's like dangerous like this is this wick here. And the wick ends like right about there. So it went to, 103 was the low on that day, and then it broke support, and now we're here at 97. This is the next line in the sand, is this wick here, right? So where's that? That's at 74. If it breaks through this here, which is 93, well, it could go lower. But I don't see that. You wanted me to give some good analysis. So if we look at the coin glass.
And if you see that happen, do you think it will be short and violent, or do you think it will be long and drawn out?
Well, like I was saying earlier in the show, I think it could be drawn out just because we have so many factors at play, right? We have the ETF. Clearly, there's people dumping the ETF right now. We calculated somewhere, I think, roughly, I want to say over $2 billion dumped in just the last 30 days. But let me share this tab. The good news is you can see this period right here. I mean, people were buying massive amounts. When is this? The beginning of October. And we had another spike just the other day right here. That was on Veterans Day, I think. But the next day after, there was a not equal to that spike, but it was a big outflow of roughly, looks like $250 million or so, a little over $250 million. So the one thing we can say is that we do, like I've been time and time again, we have global game theory playing out. We have nation states mining and buying. The hash rate, again, I pull it up. It's at 1 point. Let me refresh the screen just to make sure it's still there. Oh, it went higher. It's at 1.256 zettahashes. So again, also all the macro points to Bitcoin's fine. I think we're seeing tax harvesting. We're seeing a lot of this unclarity with the Clarity Act, right? If they're not going to pass this bill. Well, the centralized exchanges are going to do wash trading. They're going to still try and suck as much liquidity out of these S-coin markets as they can before they're told, oh, you can't play these silly games anymore. It's 100% illegal by FINRA and the SEC. And I think we're seeing a lot of that, like I said, tax harvesting. We're seeing people play funny games with Zcash, Decred, and the privacy markets to wash some of that money out of the markets, right? Like, let's be clear, why would they pump like thousands of % out of nowhere? Well, they're taking all of that wash traded money and they're putting it into products that they can hide, right? Because all you got to do is like put it into Monero, and then take that Monero, send it to an exchange, and buy some Litecoin, send that Litecoin to another exchange, buy some Monero, and send that Monero back to a different wallet, and Bob's your uncle. Nobody knows where the money went, right? And you can do that with Zcash too, and you can do that with Decred, and you can do that with Litecoin using Mimblewimble, right? Because if it's got the MWeb wallet, all you do is you just take some of that Litecoin, you just convert it into MWeb dollars, as I think they're technically called, and you send another MWeb address, convert it back to Litecoin or back to Monero, or whatever you want. And
do you think this will also be sort of like a reason to crack down on these projects? You know, like another.
Well, again, like I said, once the Clarity Act gets passed, I think we're going to see a purging of the markets, and I think this is the precursor to that. And then the most important thing of the news of this week is that now people have to realize you should be a hodler, right? Like, there's 4 million merchants across America that you saw. There's 50 pages of merchants that want to be added to the Square Bitcoin map, and that's just going to grow exponentially. So Bitcoin money, you should be off zero. Matty said this in the spaces just before the show. I'm saying it again. Please get off zero. That's why I forced my friend into getting sats. And the easiest way to force somebody to getting into Bitcoin, just give them like $5 to $10 worth of Bitcoin. And if they're like 50 or under and they know technology, the light bulb will go off, right? And once the light bulb goes off, the orange pill has been taken, right? And that's where some of your friends and family in that circle, if you don't, they will get wrecked. The dollar is going to be fine for a while now because they're going to build these Bitcoin products that like Bitcoin bonds that protect the dollar. When are they coming? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But the safest way to protect yourself from any type of debasement is literally just stack sats, right? And if you're going to spend them, don't sell them back to Larry Fink. Sell them to the little coffee shop down the street, the little taco truck that's around the corner, because that's who needs the Satoshis, not Larry Fink and those billionaires over there. The people that have zero Satoshis, they need them the most. And Blue wants to say hi, get a little shot in. Hi, Blue.
So one final question, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you for the kisses.
If Bitcoin goes down, what do you expect the Bitcoin dominance to do?
It's been hanging tough. I mean, BTC dominance has been hanging like right between like 60 and 65%. So I think it's going to maintain those levels, like we said in previous shows, where it's just going to keep going up as the altcoin markets either keep getting pushed down against it, and until its dominance comes off like 10 to 15%, the altcoin markets are going to just like bleed into nothingness. And that's just how it is. There's just too much demand for Bitcoin right now, and a couple of other alts because they've opened the ETF floodgates.
XRP.
Like XRP, Solana, Litecoin. They're like we said in the last show, they're picking the winners and losers. And there's a lot of people realize they're on the losing side of bet. If you have Bonk or any one of these crappy meme coins that's got a trillion supply or a quadrillion supply, get out of that.
And on that note, there's one more thing. Both Lynn Alden and Michael Howell, and I think Luke Roman also, they point out that this QE cycle will be different because it will be run by the Treasury and not the Fed. And when the Fed makes QE, it goes everywhere, right? It's sort of like a hose, and they hose money all over the place. But if you do it with the treasury, you can direct the money where you want to get it, right? So like what you said about, which coins will be picked. If you have a treasury and you do QE through the treasury, you can actually pick the coins that will make it, and keep the rest standing dry.
Yeah, and that will be the big news that we look for next, because like we said, going into 2026, the Fed will be expanding their balance sheet. If they start adding crypto assets to that balance sheet, well, look the F out. Look the F out, because we just saw Czechoslovakia is doing it. We know that most of the Middle East is about to say, oh yeah, we already been stacking, right? From Saudi Arabia to the UAE to Qatar to Yemen. The list is endless of all these countries are going to be like, oh yeah, we stacking. Everybody. And again, in another like 6 months, every country in the world is going to be like, yeah, we get it. If you're the people, like you're going to let your government take the wealth that's deserved for you? No, again, like I said, don't sell your sats back to Larry Fink and crew. Sell them to somebody, around the corner that needs those Satoshis, right? Coffee shop, taco truck,
or just
store.
Or just hodl them and keep them in self.
Yeah, or just hodl them. But I'm saying if you are going to sell, because that is a form of selling, because we're transacting, right? Because you're giving your Satoshi to somebody for goods and services, and we hope they keep them. But like I said, there's an option to liquidate it right into USD. And guess who gets those sats then? Square does. So we're going to see Square become this massive company, obviously, because they're going to absorb lots of Satoshis that people just don't get and don't want. And Jack is more than happy to take those sats. And that's what people don't realize, that Jack has created this super massive Bitcoin funnel for every company that he's created. That's why he's 10 times smarter than Elon Musk will ever be. Elon Musk, you have amazing rockets. I love your cars. I have one. But Jack Dorsey is clearly, when people say, oh, this one's Satoshi or this person's Satoshi, the only person I think that comes close, and he's not even like in the right like time frame and all that, technically, is Jack Dorsey. Besides the person I mentioned in my article. But he gets it, right? Like he's built miners, he's built a wallet, he's built Cash App has Lightning and Bitcoin payments. Square can now take Bitcoin and Lightning payments. I'm pretty sure it's just Lightning payments. But the point is, every business he's made, he's converted into this massive Bitcoin funnel. And to me, that's mega genius. I'm just saying. And on that note, we'll wrap it up. Again, name of the show was Stop the Chop, HODL, right? And that's what it's all about. Just put those Satoshis. If they're in your Cash App, I tell people, when you look at it and you start to break a sweat, right? It's like 1,000 or whatever it is. Yeah, start transferring some of it into your own private Bitcoin cold storage wallet. My recommendation is always Ballet, because it's like probably one of the easiest to use on the planet. I don't get any payment from them. They gave me a free wallet one time about 7 years ago. I tested it out, and I tested out Trezor, Ledger, probably like 6 different types of wallets out there, cold storage wallets. And Ballet by far is the easiest if you're brand new to Bitcoin. It's simple. You scan the QR code, the app comes up on your phone, boom, you can start putting Bitcoin into that wallet. And the really cool part is it's not electronic. So I've had multiple times with my Ledger where I can't get the newest firmware update and, oh, I'm screwed. Oh, great. That's awesome. I don't like that. Just saying Ledger, Trezor, come out with a low-tech version of your wallet like Ballet did. And I think you will be surprised. Anyway, thank you, Nick, for hanging out. Thank you for everyone watching today. We thank all our sponsors again. That will be Quantum Expeditions, Shieldfolio, Deorganized Media, and everyone that does a show on the Bitcoin Live Network. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Peace.
Was fun. Take care.
Take care.